Okay, boys and girls, today is going to be a little bit of story time. Uh, I guess we could call this the second episode of Beyond the Covers. Cute little title that I gave this new little series that I'm planning on doing, where we take a closer look beyond the covers with some comics that I think are kind of cool. And for this one, I'm going to do something that's a little bit different, not like, wow, isn't this a great story? Wow, isn't this awesome artwork? Actually, on some of it, it's quite the opposite, but I just think it's kind of more interesting comics. And I'm going to cheat, to be honest. Not just 3 comics. I couldn't keep it down to just 3. So we're going to look at 4 comics. And the theme of this is European, mostly British comics. You could call these reprints because if you know the history of it, all the British comics came out after they were released in the United States, and there really weren't any British comics, what's the word? That were indigenous to Britain at all. Sorry for all the noise outside. It's raining. Some craziness going on with cars and motorcycles. But pretty much comics is an American art form, and a lot of Brits like it, but they're not nearly as big over there as they are over here. They're starting to gain some traction over there. And these are ones that I bought when I was over in Scotland, and I just thought that they were cool. There's a whole bunch of cool stories that I learned actually just from going to the comic shop in there. You know, a comic like this, 5 pence if you can see. I don't know if it's in focus there, but this doesn't even have a cover per se. You know, it's the same material of paper, even on the outside wrap here. It's all newspaper print, even all the way to the back. And if you know about UK comics like this one, you probably know that these used to be used as ballast when they were brought over, shipped from America to Britain. They were shipped over as ballast to store the empty space and fill the empty space in ships. So a lot of them were ruined by the time they got to Britain. So it's actually kind of hard to find a UK comic in good shape. You know, they go for a lot less money than the American original versions, as they should. But I think they're a kind of interesting little niche of the market. I love these British Silver Age. I don't know if you can call them Silver Age comics. You know, these are all like the first time you're looking at Hulk and the Avengers. Not the first time, but close to the first time that you're seeing them in Britain. But these are all coming out, well, it depends. Sometimes they're coming out, only a few months later, but a lot of these are coming out like a few years later. So there's quite a delay there. Like the delay we got, or we used to have, actually, we don't even have that anymore, but the delay that there used to be when something would be released in one part of the world and wouldn't be released until later in another part of the world. Same sort of thing with that we have with movies used to happen with comics for the Brits. This is my favorite one right here. Really cool, man. Superheroes #1, whatever that is. Some British. You got to call it a reprint series because it technically is, but for them it wasn't a reprint, right? It's their first version of seeing the Silver Surfer, I believe, in this one. And on the inside, you'll see that a lot of the time they don't even have the money to go with color on the inside. It's just black and white on the inside. Because they realized that there wasn't as big of a publishing market over in Britain as there is here. Here's another little fun one. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I've got Spidey #20, which is really cool. And I also got the Italian version of Spidey #20. L'Uomo Ragno. If I'm saying that right. I don't know if there's a lot of glare if you can even see these. It's kind of cool though. And, these are stuff like this you can get for cheap, but I just think it's funny. It's interesting, kind of like a novelty item. And let's take a look inside, shall we? Yeah. No more talking. Time to start looking at comics. Yeah, baby. Oops. Yeah. Pantyhose? Is that what that's called? I don't know, man. Some of my girlfriend's shit. She's just as sloppy as I am. It's bad. Yeah, that's what that is. Okay, so we're going to start here with this bad boy. 8 pence, apparently, back in the day. And look at this. This was a big deal for them. Free, full color Silver Surfer poster inside. In other words, it was assumed everything would be in black and white. And you can see this didn't come out until 75.
So I said before, I think, in the other one that some of these might be first appearances in Britain. I don't think that's true. I went back and looked at a couple things online, just took like a minute. I don't believe that's the case, but I do know that a lot of these characters, even some of the bigger ones, some of the Avengers characters and others, were delayed by a full couple of years between when they came out in the United States and when they came out in Britain, which is pretty cool. Let's take a look inside this bad boy, huh? I haven't looked inside this in a while, actually, so I'm going to be remembering, or revisiting a lot of it, but kind of seeing a lot of it and reminding myself of what I've seen again. Pretty cool. It's too bad it's not in color, though, man. Can you imagine how something like that would look if it were in color, huh? And let's look here at the indicia, if I'm pronouncing that right. 75, originally from 1968 magazine, originally from 63 Conan publishers. Okay, so I don't even know how many times it's been reprinted by the time it gets to them. I think sometimes what they did is they combined stories from different issues. I don't know if that's true, actually. I think that I've heard that. Yeah, I hope I'm not giving a bunch of misinformation during this video. But I do know a little bit about British comics because of people I talked to when I was over there. I went to a couple cool comic shops and talked to some guys that really, it's like something out of a movie, man. Like you gotta ask 5 people where to find the comic shop. They'll tell you, oh, just go right down that alley and around this corner and that corner. And finally I remember the first one I found was like, honestly, it was like I guess it was an arcade is what you could technically call it. But it was hidden behind like a flea market type series of stores, and it looked like almost like a dumpster was just set up in front of it to scare people away. I don't know why it was there. And I go inside and I was like, are you guys open? And of course it was raining just to make it even more dramatic. I remember this vividly. This was in Scotland, not in Edinburgh. It was in where was it? Oh, Glasgow. It was in Glasgow. And he was like, yeah, man, we're open. In his Scottish accent. I'm not going to try to do a Scottish accent. I love Scottish accents. And we started talking for a while, and it was funny. He's like, we're about to close up in 15 minutes, but we just call my girlfriend and tell her not to pick me up for an hour if you want to look around. I could tell he didn't get a lot of customers, so he was kind of excited to have me in there. Being an American and everything, I think he'd had a couple other Americans probably who he'd figured were spending more money on comics than the average Brit. And so, it's funny. I could hear his girlfriend on the other line like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you take it as long as you want, honey. It's funny. Over there, it's kind of like the situation before comics used to be in America, like in the 70s. Just not too popular. Anyways, I think you get the idea on the inside of the Silver Surfer. It's pretty cool, right? It's kind of like looking at the original pencils of some of this original artwork without the color, at least. There's the inking, obviously, so not the original pencils, but the original pencils with inking before they add the color. I guess if you're a sort of purist, that might be interesting. But if you ask me, a picture like this with the Kirby crackle, I don't think that's Kirby, though. I think it's Buscema doing this one. But the imitation Kirby crackle, I'd rather see some color on that. The cosmic stuff always looks good in color. Anyways, let's move on to... Oh, actually, let's see that full color poster on the inside, huh? Let's try to find that real quick. Too, this is all magazine-sized stuff, which makes it kind of interesting, especially when you got a big panel like this, or like this right here. Looks pretty cool. But it'd be interesting, in the 70s. Being completely counterculture if you were buying this, believe me, in England or in Scotland, any of the UK Isles. And check this out, I just saw this, that's why I put the camera back on. And I don't know if I can find the full color ad it was talking about, man. Maybe it's ripped out of mine. I don't know. I don't see it. It sucks. But look, the ad that you got here. Startling first issue of Conan. I'm not a big fan of, but it's funny. You can see for them, first issue is 1975. I actually don't even know when the first issue came out in the United States. Maybe somebody could be kind enough to tell me that if you're watching in the comments section. And this is what I paused for. Look at this. It's a reprinting of the first issue of the X-Men. I know this because I've read X-Men #1 quite a few times, and I recognized it immediately. But they don't have the same cover that they had, right? They start with the first splash page. And you can see here, they're affirming it. And now prepare yourselves for one of the most exciting reading experiences of your lifetime. You're about to enter the fascinating, unpredictable world of the X-Men. Of course, back then, Jack Kirby's still working on it. And I recognize this, man. This is X-Men #1. The original. The first couple panels here I'll show and then move on. But it's kind of cool. If you've never read X-Men #1 before, here'd be a way to do it. I'm pretty excited about this issue if I was in Britain, man. I can't even imagine. I don't know if, there's a reprint for them. If it came out in Britain even before this, the X-Men must have come out before the 70s, I would think. It couldn't be like a 10-year delay, could it? I don't know. Anyways, pretty cool stuff. And I don't think I have this full-page ad. Son of a biznitch. Darn. Magneto. It's too bad. Must be torn out. I got gypped! I didn't pay much of anything for any of these comics, so that's fine. But I'll check that out. Foom. It's time to join Foom, kids. It's kind of cool. Alright. Let's take a look at the next one. That's one of my favorites right there. Very cool. Especially because of how big it is. I love this huge Silver Surfer cover art. This particular cover art with the Silver Surfer, I think, looks even better the bigger it gets. This would be an awesome poster. Okay, next one. Taking way too long here. Sorry, guys. I'll pick up the pace on the last two, I promise. This sucker, unfortunately, here did not even have a backing board in the bag. This is the one that's just all newspaper print. Mighty World of Marble, #1 in 1972 came out, apparently. For 5 pence, you could have yourself a magazine-sized magazine that had the Human Torch, basically all the Fantastic Four, it looks like, Spidey, and the Hulk. Look at that. 3 movie-length adventures, all in one issue. Not a bad deal, probably, for 5 pence. Shoot. Ooh, this one, oh, okay, I remember this. This has partial color. This is kind of interesting. The ways that they tried to, produce the cheapest comics that they could and have the readers still be willing to buy them. They decided to put this one in partial color. Part 1, Coming of the Hulk. I have not actually read this. I would assume the way that these things work, that this is a reprint of The Incredible Hulk #1. Part of the first six-issue series because of how he's drawn here, especially by Kirby. Because it's in green partial color and you can't tell, right? I'd know for sure if he was gray. But he looks green because of the way they're painting everything in here, which is confusing. But if it was Hulk #1, he would be gray. So I can't tell because of the way they got it here. But if anybody has Hulk #1 or has read the inside of Hulk #1, if you could let me know if this is a reprint of Hulk #1 from, that'd be from 1962 or 3. I'm not sure which. I think 1963. Let me know, please. Yeah, look at it. Look at how old the art looks. Strange enough. It's got to be Hulk. I don't know. Anyways, cool stuff. Oh, and now it's switching over to just no color. And look, something's cut out here. Somebody cut something. Oh, look at this. See, so in the other one I was missing the full color ad. Look at this. And this one somebody cut it out as well, except for this little piece. So now I know why I got these things so dirt cheap. They've got cut out ads, man. They're missing pages. That sucks. It would have been cool to see this in color. Oh well. Apparently something about Fantastic Four and the Mole Man. And I said it'd be quicker, so yeah, it looks like after the Hulk, it goes to... Yeah, look at this. It's all of the... So that is Hulk #1. I know for sure now, because this is Fantastic Four #1. I have read this story many times. This is the beginning of Fantastic Four #1 from 1961. Oh yeah, see Mr. Fantastic firing that into the air. It's really funny in Fantastic Four #1. Yes, he fires a flare into the air that signals to the Fantastic Four like the bat signal. Fantastic Four, assemble! He doesn't say assemble. Sorry, getting a little bit out of line there. That'd be the Cap in the Silver Age Avengers, of course. I think we'll go to that one next, actually. But yeah, so it's cool, isn't it? In one issue, you get the first story of the Fantastic Four, the first story of the Incredible Hulk, and reprints, but the first story is reprinted with partial color at least. Still cool, even if there's no color on some of these. In one magazine for, what was it, 6p or something? And I assume this is probably the first Spider-Man. This story I do not know. God, I got to read this one, man. This is one I have not read yet inside of this. So this is Spider-Man number 1, I would assume. If it's like the first two. If it's following the trend. Stan Lee, Steve Ditko. Let's see. You'll be able to tell a lot of the time. Yeah, look at that. They're talking about it as if it's the first time. Like costumed heroes, confidentially, we in the comic bag business refer to them as the long underwear characters, and as you know, they're a dime a dozen, but we think you may find our Spider-Man just a bit different, as if it's like the first time, right? And they're talking about Peter Parker, kind of introducing you to him. There's Flash Thompson. Douchebag! I would have to think this is Spider-Man number 1. Very cool. I'm going to have to read this after I'm done with this video, because I've never read Spidey number 1. Now I'm going to get to know what happens in Spidey 1. Sure, it's not in all color, but we've got partial color, which makes it better than black and white. And it's magazine-sized. Oh, and it looks like the very last page of it is in color. Oh, yes, okay, I know this is the last panels of The Amazing Spider-Man number 1. It's not the last panel of Amazing Fantasy 15, is it, guys? I don't think it is. I know this is either Amazing Fantasy 15 last panel or Amazing Spider-Man number 1 last panel. Because you see that interview where Stan Lee talks about this panel all the time because he loves how he ended it. He says, yeah, that's that famous line, and a lean, silent figure slowly fades into the gathering darkness, aware, at last, that in this world, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. Yes, sir. Mr. Stan Lee, and so a legend is born. Okay, that is a freaking cool magazine now. I mean, even though it's newspaper print for 5p, can you imagine getting the first story of those 3 major Marvel comic heroes in one mag? It's magazine size. It's awesome, dude. Okay, one more after this. Here's number 2 of the Avengers for the Brits, 1973, for 6p. Somehow it does not look like American artwork. I don't know, man. It just looks bad to me. I don't know what this cover is. Could have been drawn for the British version, possibly. Maybe that's what Avengers number 2 looks like with the Lava Men. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Avengers. Sue me! Let's take a quick look on the inside here. Color for the ad, but not for the comic. And I would assume this is probably a reprint of the actual panels for Avengers number 2, but I don't know because I don't have it. I mean, for the the original American version of Avengers number 2. If somebody does have it and they recognize these panels, you could let me know. That would be sweet. Anyways, this one I don't think is all too interesting compared to the others, at least. So we'll go through it pretty quick here. Get me some Hulk, some Wasp, it looks like, some Iron Man. I don't know, it looks like a pretty modern Iron Man right there, so I don't know if this is Avengers 2 reprinted, or I don't know what this is on the inside, to be honest, guys. So, because I don't know much about it, let's just skip past it. Some Doctor Strange, it looks like. And, of course, the only other time you get color is on the ad on the back. Hey, they gotta make money. I get it. I get it. I don't know what this ad is for. Cresta. Apparently a British drink. That Cresta, it's frothy, man. I guess that's like the version of Coca-Cola, but Cresta? That's really weird. I don't know what that is. Cresta Bear. Drinking Cresta. It's weird. I don't know. God, it looks so close. I mean, they're coming real close to infringing on Coca-Cola's White Bear, right? But you can tell they get just different enough with the glasses and everything. But man, they are trying to copy Coke. That's funny. Okay, then. I think that's it. I don't think I want to make this video too long. The other one here was the Spidey. I was thinking about going through with L'Uomo Ragno, but I think on the inside, I believe I've seen the inside again. It's just this one's color on the inside, and the artwork doesn't look the same. I think they've used different artwork. The story's kind of different. You can tell here they're not even copying word for word what it says on the English American version here. How could they possibly have? How can Spidey battle a foe who is stronger than he is? You're about to meet one of Marvel's newest, greatest arch-villains, the Scorpion, written as 5 words. Contiene autoadesivi, you like my Italian, fustilati, lo Scorpione. Seriously though, something weird about that. But I just thought it was cool to have an Italian version of that. All right, I think that's it, man. Fellers, ladies, girls, boys, young and old alike, lovers of comics, I hope you like another episode of Beyond the Covers. Till next time, guys. Later on.